Okay, so Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is making headlines again, and not in a good way, folks.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do.
This time, she's dropped some seriously baffling remarks that, honestly, they reveal just how out of touch she is with, well, us, the everyday Americans. You know, it's like, come on, dismissing financial aid when, seriously, families are struggling to make ends meet? It's outrageous, right? I mean, she's not even trying to hide her contempt for, like, Trump's policies. Instead, she's doubling down on her partisan rhetoric. It's like she's living in some ivory tower. Anyway, if you want to stay in the loop about all things political and see her unravel out even more, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It totally makes my day and keeps me going. I'm really trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of February. And hey, every single subscription counts. Don't miss out and help me reach this goal. So let's dive right into it. Jasmine Crockett really stirred up a storm with her inflammatory comments on financial aid proposals and her dismissive tone towards the economic challenges we hardworking Americans face daily.
Congresswoman, there are a lot of people who still are out there wondering, where's the fire and the fight from elected Democrats? Where are they? Why aren't they bringing, fighting fire with fire? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that critique? And two, do you think the Democrats in Congress are getting better at pushing back against what's happening?
I think that we're struggling from a lot of the things that we struggled from during the campaign, which was that we may be pushing back, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people can hear us or see us. Some of us have the ability to be a little bit more amiable when it comes to working in different types of platforms, and therefore you end up being seen a lot more. I will tell you that I have conversations consistently, day and night. There are so many chats that we have where we are talking about what we're going to do, and we're talking about what we are doing. But a matter of amplifying those things is a lot more difficult.
What she said about, like, Trump's ideas was just mind-blowing. I mean, she totally dismissed the notion of direct financial assistance as if families are, living in luxury.
Next question, which is, for all of the criticisms that exist of Donald Trump, he right now has a 53% approval rating. It's higher than it's ever been. 70% believe that he's fulfilling his promises, and 45% believe Democrats should be more moderate. What do you take away? I think there's a lot to make of those numbers. What's your takeaway from that?
My takeaway is just like the election. We've got to do better at education. People don't understand, but you will understand when those hospitals in rural America start closing down even more. You will understand when you don't have your Social Security. You will understand when your Medicaid, your Medicare goes away. You will understand as planes continue to fall out of the sky. Soon you will understand why it's important to maybe have somebody that isn't loud and ridiculous, and maybe Sleepy Joe is what we wanted because we could at least sleep at night.
Yeah.
Okay, we all know that's not the case, right? Remember when President Trump floated the idea of kind of like providing $5,000 to working families? Well, Crockett's response was something along the lines of, it's just not feasible. I mean, seriously? She argued that it wouldn't make a difference, ignoring the fact that, hey, for a lot of families, that money could mean the difference between paying their bills or not, filling their gas tank, or even putting food on the table.
I don't really know what's going on, and that is why the attorney generals really had a hard time meeting that burden for TRO is because we can't say exactly what he's doing. But the problem is we've never in this country, at least in my lifetime and in most other people's lifetimes, experienced someone who is so ingrained. And so we're going to have to start talking to some of these people that are getting fired. And we're going to have to find out from them, who is it that told you that you were experiencing your last day at work? Talk to us about these little teenagers running around. Was it one of them?
Well, they're doing it through OPM. Because I have friends that work there, and they got the notice, and they got it from the Office of Personnel Management. And so, but Doge told OPM to do it.
And that's what we've got to get to the heart of.
To that. I know all about it.
It just feels like such a slap in the face.
Because every day that we show up in D.C., we show up for you. We know who we work for. We know that we work for the American people. And what we're not going to do is stand around while they pull this bullshit that they trying to pull right now. This is why I'm not going to be able to preach, because I probably won't be able to stop cussing. We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses. And we are going to make sure, you understand what democracy looks like. And this ain't it. So let me tell you something, Mr. Trump. You gonna learn a few lessons from.
But wait, she didn't stop there. On several talk shows, she took the opportunity to criticize Trump's policies further and, spin her narrative regarding the Democratic Party's challenges, especially in messaging. She often cited that, it just wasn't communicated well, kind of implying that Americans are unable to understand what's best for them. It's like they're saying, you're too dumb to get it. I don't know about you, but to me, that's just offensive. Like on The View, she claimed that Americans might not get the impact of Democratic policies until, like, hospitals start closing, Social Security runs dry, and planes start falling out of the sky. What an over-the-top doomsday scenario. It's all just fear-mongering to shift the blame away from their, policies that clearly aren't resonating with people. It's no wonder, really, that people are getting riled up. Even more puzzling, Crockett seems to believe that Democrats simply have like a messaging problem rather than acknowledging that perhaps, just a tiny perhaps, it might be their policies that are flawed. People are listening, they're paying attention, and maybe they just don't like what they hear. Jasmine's unrelenting criticism of Trump and her attempts to degrade his supporters only fuel the animosity growing between the parties. The rhetoric seems so divisive, right? I guess to her, if it doesn't fit her partisan narrative, it's irrelevant. So folks, what do you think? Does $5,000 make a difference to you and your family? Let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear your perspective on this.